Now, I want to go to Charles Darwin University, where Sky News Northern Australia correspondent Matt Cunningham has uncovered that students have been told to reconsider a career in allied health if they don't support the PM's Indigenous Voice to Parliament. Matt Cunningham found that Associate Professor Bea Staley told her speech pathology students that they might want to reflect deeply on whether a career in allied health in Australia is really for you if they don't support the voice. Can you believe this? She also said a yes vote will not make up for the atrocities of colonisation, but is certainly a step in the right direction for a more humane and just Australian society. Although university has released a statement saying they do not support the Associate Professor's frankly insane comments, it is unclear whether she will be stood down or counselled. Joining me to discuss this and more is Sky News senior reporter Caroline Marcus. Caroline, this is just shocking stuff to have someone in her position say that to her students. I'm blown away at the chutzpah of it.
It does seem outrageous that at a university, and they're supposed to be bastions of critical thought where we raise independent thinkers, that this could happen. But sadly, we've seen lately all too often how universities in this country are becoming more places of political activism, and where any dissenting ideas that sway from what might be considered politically correct at the time are attempted to be silenced. And here's another example of this. I mean, to their credit, the Charles Darwin University have spoken out against what this professor has sent to her students. Apparently, they have counselled her, but it doesn't appear that any serious disciplinary action has been taken. She's not even a professor in an area such as politics or in Indigenous affairs. She teaches about speech pathology. And I wonder if she's saying that any Indigenous person, an Indigenous student who might be considering voting no, because we know that certainly there are many who have said that they're going to vote no, whether they would be welcome in her classes and whether they would feel that they had a future in such a course and such a career. It is astonishing. It is completely outrageous, but sadly it's not out of place. What is also shocking, Rita, is that she thinks something like that will actually sway people's opinion, because as we've seen again and again in this referendum, any kind of emotional blackmail, which this surely is an example of, has the opposite effect and turns people off.
It does, but I do worry when we're talking about young Australians who've already gone through just years of indoctrination through school, and to have someone in authority say this to them in this manner, if you're not that politically engaged, who knows, maybe you would be sort of bullied into backing something you would otherwise think about twice about. Now, I want to go to the affluent Sydney suburb of Mosman, where an Aboriginal Land Council has made a claim on land adjacent to Balmoral Beach, worth around $100 million, we're told. The CEO of the Land Council, Nathan Moran, even said Mosman Council benefited from the enslavement of Aboriginal people from the 1910s to the 1960s. And his comments come, Caroline, as we've got around 40,000 Aboriginal land claims across New South Wales. I don't even know how many there are across the country, but that number has shocked so many people.
It is extraordinarily high, and this group that has made this claim on this particular piece of land in the north of Sydney has made up to 3,000 claims on its own. So that just shows you just the extraordinary number of claims that are out there, and often they're competing claims as well, Rita. So many of these 40,000 claims are coming from different land councils, different Aboriginal groups who believe they have the right to that particular land. But in this case, I mean, the native title, it's supposed to apply to land that's not being used or is unoccupied. And this particular reserve is used apparently a lot by the public. It's being used for picnics and bushwalking and all kinds of recreational events. So the fact that it was considered for this at all, and that any discussions that the council had, and they did vote against this unanimously on Tuesday, but they had to hold their discussions in secret because these sorts of debates are considered confidential. And if it concerns land that is currently public and Crown owned, then they should be transparent about it, at least when there are this many claims out there.
Now, it's been revealed that the Australian women who were invasively strip searched at a Qatari airport back in 2020 sent Transport Minister Catherine King a letter urging her not to approve the airline's bid to expand its operations. Minister King's claiming the letter impacted her decision to bar the airline from increasing its capacity here, Caroline. I mean, this seems like a rather incoherent explanation. I mean, if that's the case, why is Qatar Airways flying here at all? I mean, it seems like a very convenient explanation.
It is very convenient, Rita, and it's also in complete contradiction of what the minister herself told media just in July, when she said that that incident in 2020 did not play a role in her decision to block more flights from Qatar Airways. So it makes no sense that now she's saying, yes, it was a factor, and I can't discuss any other factors, but I can say that quote, the commercial advantage that it would give Qantas didn't play any role in this at all. I mean, the obfuscation that we've seen here, the secrecy around this, the contradictory reports, it just all gives the appearance that not all is above board here. And it just raises more questions than it answers. It's really curious. And the letter that she sent back, the minister sent back to these women who raised their concerns with her about Qatar Airways, actually gave them a response that the government was not going to be increasing the amount of flights that it would allow Qatar Airways to bring here before she even told the Prime Minister. So that raises concerns in itself. But I think, you know, we need to get to the bottom of this. There needs to be increased scrutiny on it, and they cannot be allowed to get away with saying, well, we can't go into all the details about what led to this decision.
It makes absolutely no sense. If it's a decision based on human rights abuses, then there are several airlines you would ban from the country straight away, possibly including Qatar, but several Chinese-owned airlines. But that just can't be the case. And if that was the case, why have we had about 4 different explanations so far from the minister?
And the other point, Rita, is that, you know, what does the airway, it's a horrible situation. No one's doubting that. Appalling what these women had to go through, and appalling that a newborn baby was dumped in the first place. But if the Qatari authorities want to board an airline, is the airline even capable of saying, no, you can't do that. You can't take people off our airline? Well, where does their responsibilities lie in all this? Isn't this an issue to do with the leadership, the Qatari leadership, rather than the airlines?
We're going to hear a lot more about this because we have not got to the bottom of it. I mean, what we do know is that we've had industry sources saying this decision has cost the tourism sector $500 million per annum. That is an enormous amount after you've gone through that COVID era. We've had reports that the state premiers were all behind this decision. They wanted Qatar to have increased capacity, and to have all these different explanations that don't appear to make complete sense, it's not good enough. But before we go, I want to ask you about the housing crisis. The prices are out of control in Sydney. It now ranks as the world's second least affordable major housing market after Hong Kong. It's overtaken now London, Amsterdam, Toronto. How do we get here? And we keep hearing about a housing bubble, prices are going to crash, but that seems highly unlikely, Caroline, given we're going to have hundreds of thousands coming in annually for the next few years.
Oh, look, living in Sydney, I know how beautiful it is, how many people clearly want to live here. It's a great city. Don't start me on the Sydney versus Melbourne debate, Rita, but look, clearly the issue is lack of supply, so much demand. Now we're up there with, it wouldn't shock anyone living here who's looked at house prices or looked at renting here to learn this information today. We are the second least affordable city. So I don't know when the prices start coming down, but it is certainly affecting the economy. They're saying up to $10 billion a year it's costing as less people can afford to live here and bring money in.
Caroline Marcus, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks for your time.